After 5 weeks, we've entered the Supreme Court chapter of Donald Trump's losing and lawsuits in court. 92 lawsuits, 34 preliminary injunctions and temporary restraining orders. And we've got 2 efforts by the Trump administration to take a matter to the United States Supreme Court, one involving U.S. aid, the other involving the Office of Special Counsel, who defends federal workers. He's the ultimate federal worker number one, if you will. And now the Trump administration, without a permanent solicitor general in place, with an acting solicitor general in place, is filing letters and petitions and all sorts of things to try to take these cases. That's inevitably where things are going to go. The other inevitability is that Elon Musk is not going away until a federal judge ultimately bars him from the government as an unconfirmed, power-hungry madman. We're going to be seeing a lot of Elon Musk. Donald Trump has effectively delegated a lot of his domestic policy to Elon Musk, trotted him out today in a cabinet. It looked very strange. It looked like a hostage video with the cabinet, the actual cabinet, which are, state, defense, Department of Justice, sitting around, and Donald Trump trotting out his pet, or vice versa, pointing to the person and saying, what do you think about Elon Musk and the job that he's doing? Like, oh my God. I mean, this is not only the shadow president, this is the actual president. Now it makes more sense where that AI deepfake video came with Donald Trump sucking the toes of Elon Musk. And Musk is just making a mess of all the positions that the Department of Justice is forced to take in front of federal judges. And we're going to talk more about that. Trump is now considering, according to new reporting, something we talked about, Karen, before the election and during the campaign, that he was going to try to invoke the Alien Enemies Act, or the Alien Sedition Act from 1798, which requires a declaration of war, where we have an opposing country on the other side, which we declare to be our enemy, and that country has its agents within our country. We've only done it 3 times. It's always been a time of war: the War of 1812, World War I, World War II. Donald Trump wants to use it to deport people, claiming that the drug cartels have somehow been sent here from Mexico and Venezuela. This peacetime use of the Alien Enemies Act is another example of this abuse of power by Donald Trump. We'll talk about what federal courts and the Supreme Court can do about it. And then the Supreme Court hears oral argument on a white person's reverse discrimination case, claiming that they were discriminated against. We'll get some feedback on that and so much more at the intersection of law and politics. Short intro, got a lot to talk about. Let's bring Karen in. Hi, Karen.
Hello, Popok. How are you? So good to see you midweek.
Thank you very much. Now that I've moved in to my new office podcast studio in an undisclosed location, new microphone, that's a celebrate. And you're busy running around being a lawyer. I'm running around being a lawyer, but our primary focus every week is to bring our best analysis and commentary that we can to these matters, because it matters. We're part of the resistance. We're watching, just to kick it off here, Karen, we're watching mainstream corporate media just totally bend over for Donald Trump. MSNBC just fired friends of the show and friend of mine, Katie Fang and Jonathan Capehart and Joy Reid. All diversity anchors are now wiped clean, just whitewashed off of MSNBC because they think that's okay, because they want to curry favor with Donald Trump. CBS is considering now settling a ridiculous, meritless $20 billion case that Donald Trump brought, following in the footsteps of ABC News that paid $15 million for no reason, as the social media platforms all do the same. Examples of Donald Trump using his bully pulpit and his public presidential power to benefit his private lawsuits. Another method of lining his pocket. So, I have a belief that he has a goal of collecting $1 billion for himself and his family before he leaves office, and he's well on his way there after only 5 weeks. Karen, what are you observing about? You're kind of in it with both Midas And are you still doing work on any of the on a place like CNN? Are you still doing that work?
Yeah, no, it
Uh-huh.
got a little much when I started practicing law full time. So yeah, I had to let that go. So
Yeah, but you didn't let us go.
no, well, I can't. This is my home. This is my
Yeah,
family. I could never leave the Midas community ever.
yeah, yeah. So what do you make? What do you let's kick that off. What did you make of the MSNBC? I don't want to ignore it, of the heads rolling there and the type of people they decided that they didn't want or they're on their network as we try to all figure out what the shape and contours of the resistance to the Trump's inhumane administration looks like.
Look, I mean, it definitely feels and seems like decisions I don't quite understand. I don't understand why mainstream media is settling merit-based cases that I think they could win against Trump. Is it because they're afraid he will use his bully pulpit to punish them? I mean, he's already banning certain reporters and certain reporting agencies from the White House press room, and that's access, right? That's important. He's At the end of the day, it's only going to be the Fox News and his right wing reporters who are going to be allowed into the press briefings if he's allowed to continue on this way. I know AP was banned, and I just think what's happening with mainstream media is sad. It's sad. I don't know if they think they have to do it because of him or if it's because of ratings or because of investors or what it is, but one thing I love about Midas is, and the thing that we always celebrate is we don't have editors, investors. We don't have anyone telling us what to do. We've always just been, I mean, you and I don't talk about, other than a list of topics that we're going to talk about. That's all we do. It's not like to prep for this show, we are given materials by somebody who's telling us all the information. You give me, or I give you, a list of the things I want to talk about, and it's half a sentence long. And you and I don't practice ahead of time. We don't talk ahead of time about what we're going to say. Nobody, our sponsors don't say, oh, make sure you do this or don't do that. There's no outside investor that we have to worry about, that we have to make them happy in some way. We don't do anything for the ratings one way or another. I mean, it's nice to get lots of views, obviously, but we do things because this is what we do, and we are beholden to ourselves and to our community, and that's it. That I love, and I think a lot of people are following suit, right? A lot of people are trying to replicate this successful model. Midas has what, 4.1 or 4.2 million subscribers. Dethroned Joe Rogan as the number one podcast. I mean, it's incredible, right? It's amazing, and it's because we stay true to our beliefs. We're not chasing ratings. We're not chasing demographics the way these networks seem to be doing. I mean, they're firing some of their best people. Why? Who knows? But they're chasing something other than the truth, and other than just trying to tell people what's going on, just unfiltered. And that's what I love about Midas. That's why I'll never leave Midas, and that's why I'm just honored to be here with you every week, Popok, and to have the people here who are chatting with us, who are chatting with us live in the comments, that I'm trying not to be distracted by while I'm talking and reading them, because as Catherine just said, truth is golden, which it is. So anyway, I love being here. I love being here live with you, and I love the Legal AF community. So
Yeah, agreed. I reached out to Katie Fang. She is a personal friend of mine, and gave her my support personally and that of the show. I'd love to get Katie Fang to come over to the Midas Touch Network in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to have coffee with her soon in Miami and see if I can make something like that happen. And she's not the only one, but you're right. There's two things that we're watching. People are surging to this type of independent platform. Midas Brothers, number one, and Legal AF's no slouch either. We're top 10 in the world in all genres, which is crazy. This is like the garage band that is now playing sold out arenas, but it's a little bit of us, and it's a lot of our audience, and they want to fight. And the resistance, as I said, takes many formats. I mean, some of it is pages out of the civil rights movement during the 1960s. We had a group of 20 protesters lie down today in a die-in in the Capitol Rotunda to protest U.S. aid being put out of business. And they were all summarily arrested, and I'm sure will be prosecuted by this Trump administration, who sees absolutely no irony in the fact that they opened the jails and let out convicted insurrectionists that tried to burn down our Capitol on a murderous riot. And they're going to put these poor people who are just doing what Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. said to do, which is to quiet. I mean, there's nothing more quieter than a die-in. They're supposed to be dead. So a quiet civil protest, and they get hauled off by the Capitol Police. I mean, that's not the America that I want to wake up in every morning. There's a disconnect between the values of America. What makes us American? When you ask somebody, overseas, what is an American? What are the values that you think we exhibit that is our part of our DNA, the fiber of our being, and what we think about ourselves as Americans since we were little kids? And there's just a total disconnect between this administration. I don't recognize American values at all. And it's that depravity and that moral bankruptness that will ultimately be the undoing of the Trump administration. It's already a failed administration by any measure. The more the Carolyn Leavitt, the press secretary, says they're winning, the more I know they are not doing that. They're doing the opposite of winning. They're actually losing. And the federal courts, as we had hoped and we predicted, and now the Supreme Court, is going to have to be the firewall to protect our democracy against an out of control, there's no other way to put it, out of control president who is rogue, who is not respectful of constitutional institutional norms, and just as he wasn't when he was the criminal defendant, no surprise there. And there's no better example of all of that than what he's now doing at the trial court level that's now rose up to the United States Supreme Court level. We have two different filings an hour apart before we went on the air. One of them a letter, like a please help me letter from Donald Trump to the Supreme Court about the Office of Special Counsel, and the other one about U.S. aid. First, why don't you give us an overview, Karen, of what you're seeing in terms of the 92 cases and the 34 or more preliminary injunctions, temporary restraining orders, and administrative stays. What's the takeaway that our audience should make from that? Just that overall, we can talk about individual ones as the podcast continues, but like just the overall body of work so far the first 5 weeks. What's your takeaway?
Look, my takeaway is that in Trump versus United States, that essentially made the Trump king, made presidents king, because they are above the law. Yes, that's criminal. He has absolutely nothing to fear. He has nothing to fear but to go all out, do whatever he wants. There's no question he is doing things without any regard. There's no deterrent effect because nothing can happen to him. Congress won't impeach him because Congress is MAGA. Senate obviously won't convict him because he won't be impeached, but he owns Congress, right? Both houses. So, and the courts have basically said, you can do whatever you want and there's no real consequence, because what happens civilly, nothing's going to happen civilly, right? He controls everything. He controls all of the agencies. And so rather than taking, so he has no fear. He's just going to go in and do whatever he wants to do. And I thought it was really interesting that Elon Musk was on stage at that conservative CPAC conference with the visual of the chainsaw, right? They're taking a chainsaw to government, not a scalpel, right? They're not taking a scalpel to remove the bits of cancer. They're literally amputating parts of the body off, just hacking away, and then trying to put it back together after the fact. And the fact that there are 90 plus lawsuits already from good government organizations, whether it's state democracy defenders or the ACLU or just, any people, there are people out there who are saying, wait, there are real people here. You can't, first of all, Congress appropriates funding for certain programs, for certain jobs, for certain agencies, for people, to give aid to people in the United States who need it. Congress passes these laws signed by the president. It is appropriated. The president can't just, quote, impound that money and say, we're not going to spend it, or just fire the civil servants. These are civil servants, public servants. I was one for 30 years. You can't just fire them without cause. These are positions that have protections, and frankly, they're really important positions, and they do incredible, important work. I was listening to somebody, I can't remember who it was, who was like, "Oh, gee, I'm sorry, the guy testing the feces," and I think it was Jon Stewart, who said something like, the guy testing the feces in the water, tell him his job's not important. I mean, this just what civil servants do is such important work, and you can't just go in and take a chainsaw and hack it all off. And that's what we're seeing with these 90 plus lawsuits. People are going in, and frankly, they're winning almost every one of them. And not only are they, and they're not winning because they haven't finished, they haven't been finalized, but they're winning what they're asking for, which is stop, press pause. And they're getting these injunctions from the court, these court orders saying, you can't do that. You have to do the status quo. And the court's seeing that they're lying to the court. It's like, you have a duty of candor. I want to remind the lawyers that you have a duty of candor to the court. That's code for don't lie, right? I don't believe what you're saying. Don't lie. Or they're saying things like, you have until midnight tonight. I want to see that you did it. And then you've got Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary, go up and say, "Oh no, we didn't rescind. We just rescinded the memo. We didn't rescind the money. The money's not going back." And the courts hear that, and they call them back in and they say, "You're lying to us. You're disobeying these court orders." And so the courts see what's happening. But what we're seeing, though, is the Trump administration does not care. In fact, there were confirmation hearings just today of Harmeet Dillon had to testify, and a couple other people who were before Congress, who essentially, it was also John Sauer, who's going to be the guy with the gravelly voice, who's going to be the Solicitor General, and one other individual, and not one of them would say, they were trying to get him to say, do you agree that you can't, the executive branch and Trump can't just violate the law? And none of them would say that. It's like, well, sometimes you can, is essentially what their position is. So they basically, between that and Donald Trump, who basically says, well, if I'm saving the country, then it's okay, then it's not illegal. Whatever that quote was that he says, that what they've signaled is we are above the law. And we don't have to listen to what anyone says. But thankfully, the courts so far have been able to press pause, because real people's lives are on the line, and people who depend on all of these programs. Okay, great. If you're a billionaire, like if you're a billionaire in California and you can afford a private firefighter to save your home, great, good for you. But all the normal people who need actual firefighters to come and try to save their home depend on the government, right? It's like the billionaires and the 100 millionaires and the millionaires of this country, they want to cut because they don't like paying so much in taxes. But what they don't realize is there's real people who actually rely on this and who need this, and it's the farmers and it's regular people and civil servants. It's what make the world go around, and it's what I think makes America great, and they don't realize it, and it's really scary. But thankfully, it seems like we're winning in the courts.
Yeah, and just a little breakout tutorial. When a judge in federal court or state court makes a determination, whether you call it a temporary restraining order, the only difference between a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction is the timing at which it happens. Let's back it up. Let's give a more complete legal AF law school breakout session. An administrative stay is usually for hours, maybe a day or two. It's for the judge to be able to get the full briefing in, get everybody together, logistically get them into a courtroom, either on Zoom or live, and hold a hearing and keep the status quo in place till that time. Next level up, temporary restraining order. Temporary restraining order is almost identical to what you have to prove to get the preliminary injunction. The difference is it is temporal. It's the time. Usually a temporary restraining order will last maybe a few days, a week, maybe a month at the most, depending upon the court's calendar and the type of harm that's at the basis of the motion. The four elements of a temporary restraining order are the same as the four elements for a preliminary injunction. It's just that a preliminary injunction, if granted, stays in place all the way till the end of the trial of the case. And from that point, from the preliminary injunction, generally, you could take an appeal. You can't take an appeal generally from a temporary restraining order, although the Trump administration has and is trying to do that. Generally, appellate courts find that they don't have jurisdiction until we kind of turn the wheel and get to preliminary injunction. The four elements are likelihood of success on the merits and irreparable harm are probably the two of the four that the courts focus on the most. Likelihood of success on the merits is what it sounds like. You, the party that's brought the motion, is likely to win at trial. The judge looks under the hood, takes a look at the evidence to date, some affidavits, some sworn statements, the law, the facts, whatever that person, the judge has in front of them, and says, yeah, you're more likely than not on the scale to win. You have to have that as a threshold. Second threshold is that in order to get injunctive relief with the court's inherent or equitable power, you have to have a harm that can't be compensated by money. It's irreparable. It's like literally the toothpaste is out of the tube and the egg is scrambled, and it can't be unscrambled and it can't be put back in the tube. It's something that if this doesn't get blocked or stopped right now, people are going to die. People are going to lose their homes. People are going to be in harm's way in a way they wouldn't be if the judge issued the injunction. So they has to find irreparable harm. We've talked a lot about on the podcast in Hot Takes about judges questioning whether irreparable harm was present for an injunction. This has nothing to do with the merits of the case. Your argument as a plaintiff against Donald Trump generally takes the format of constitutional violation of some aspect of the Constitution, separation of powers, the spending clause, the appointment clause, something like that, usually a First Amendment violation of some sort, an Administrative Procedures Act violation of some sort, because these agencies can't act arbitrarily and capriciously. That's what the law says. So we see all of that in one. Judge takes a look at all that, says, all right, you're going to win. Okay, irreparable harm. The third is inadequate remedy at law, which is very similar to irreparable harm. Usually means money's not going to help you at this moment in terms of we can't wait till the end of the trial. And the last is that the public interest tips in your favor. And so when you hear that a judge has issued an injunction or a temporary restraining order against the Trump administration, it means they have made a decision at this moment that Trump's on the losing side of the case, that it is more likely than not a preponderance of evidence after a full trial will show that he has violated the Constitution, that he's violated the APA, that he's violated the First Amendment and due process clauses and the rest. And so we give it, not us, but the media gives it short shrift. Oh, another preliminary injunction today. Oh, another temporary restraining order. It is extraordinary. It's extraordinarily hard to get one. I've gotten maybe, I don't know, in 35 years, I've maybe gotten less than 10 in my entire, between temporary restraining orders and preliminary injunctions, maybe a dozen. They're hard to get. You have to make all those showings out. And showing that you're more likely than not to win or preponderance of evidence to win is really, really hard. So it's not just that he's losing kind of provisionally or temporarily, sure. Could on the merits, after more facts develop, the judge reverse course and go, I gave you the TRO, but I'm not giving you the preliminary injunction. Happens rarely. Or I gave you the preliminary injunction, but I was wrong, and I'm going to undo it and give the other side the win at the trial. Could happen. But these cases aren't going to go all the way to trial. These cases are going to kind of end at the preliminary injunction, get brought up to appeal in the various appellate courts, and then to the United States Supreme Court. So when we come back from a break, where we talk about how to support the show and all that, Karen and I will talk about the Supreme Court, which already out of these 92 cases, there's 2 in particular that have sort of burst through and are now up with the highest level of court, at least at this moment in time. Many ways to support the show that Karen and I love dearly. Subscribe to the Midas Touch Network. Get it. Keep turning the odometer there of support. We have Legal AF, the YouTube channel that I curate, Legal AF MTN. We're dangerously close to 500,000 subscribers, probably 2 weeks away. Turn that odometer there as well. And then we've got our sponsors. Our sponsors are so important. Some people are like, oh, it's the commercials. No. Oh, it is the commercials, because this is the way that we can stay independent. They don't tell us what to say. Quite the opposite. They don't tell us what to do. They don't say this person can be on the show or can't be on the show. Don't do that interview. Don't get rid of that anchor. No, first of all, we'd fire them before they fired us. That's the reality. But it's the opposite. They know our content. They know effectively our position on things, and yet they're here to support us and to support you. So we're going to take a short break for our sponsors, and when we get back, we're going to pick up with where we left off, which is the Supreme Court. Talk about Elon Musk and how he's making it very hard for the Department of Justice under Trump to tell the truth in courtrooms and what judges are doing about it. And then we're going to talk about this reverse discrimination, where a white straight woman is claiming that she was discriminated against because a gay person was hired for the job that she wanted, and the Supreme Court decided that was interesting and we should have oral argument about it. And we'll talk about that as well. Let's take our first break. Long work weeks and busy weekends, month after month, they can leave you feeling and looking depleted. Prolon's program takes the guesswork out and equips you with a science-backed plan, making it a key tool for your health journey. Prolon's fasting mimicking diet is a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making cells believe they're fasting. Researched and developed for decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by leading U.S. medical centers, Prolon helps support healthy blood sugar, enhanced skin appearance, fat loss, and improved energy and focus post-fast. It all starts with their 5-day program. Snacks, soups, and beverages designed to keep your body in a fasting state. No guesswork or planning required. 3 consecutive cycles of Prolon have been shown to reduce your biological age score by an average of 2.5 years and your waist circumference by 1.5 inches. Look, when I'm craving a real reset, Prolon is the only nutrition program that works for me. It's convenient, backed by Nobel-winning science, and it works. To help you kickstart a health plan that truly works, Prolon is offering Legal AF by Midas Touch listeners 15% off site-wide plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day nutrition program. Just visit prolonlife.com/legalaf. That's prolonlife.com/legalaf to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/legalaf. How would you define your relationship with sleep? Are there challenges like trouble falling asleep or staying asleep? Would you say the quality of your sleep negatively impacts your life? Have you tried other sleep supplements but feel like nothing has worked? And here's the thing about sleep. It's the foundation of whole body health. When we sleep well, our minds and our bodies perform at their best. Good sleep is both mental and physical, and our daily performance depends on it. Proper sleep can also increase focus, boost energy, and improve your mood. That's why we're so excited to talk about Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep. This product has single-handedly changed the way I sleep for the better. This bedtime essential is so decadent, totally guilt-free, and available in delicious flavors like sea salt caramel, brownie batter, vanilla chai, and the Beam Dream Powder original flavor, cinnamon cocoa. Each serving is only 15 calories and 0 grams of sugar. We can say this with confidence. Better sleep has never tasted better. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. Beam Dream is easy to add to your nighttime routine. Just mix Dream into hot water or milk froth and enjoy before bed. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/legalaf and use code LegalAF at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/legalaf and use code LegalAF for up to 40% off. Let me tell you, if there's a surefire way to wake up feeling fresh after a night of drinking, it's with pre-alcohol. Z-Biotic's pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. So I first gave pre-alcohol a try when I was visiting Miami for a conference, and let's just say they put the open in open bar. I drank it before my first scotch and soda, and you wouldn't believe how on top of my game I felt the very next morning. With pre-alcohol, I can stay on track and not let winter travel in celebrations like Valentine's Day, the Super Bowl, and Mardi Gras throw me off course. Go to zbiotics.com/legalaf to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use LegalAF at checkout. ZBiotics is back with a 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/legalaf and use the code LegalAF at checkout for 15% off. See, that round of commercials, welcome back, was personally funny for me because we had an interesting combination. We had this room with all the boxes in after a move last week that looked like a hostage video. We had my old house because I had to record before I got with the movers. But now I'm here and we're back, and it's time to talk about the United States Supreme Court. As we entered the show and the recording, we got a couple of things that happened. Judge Ali in the District of Columbia, not to be confused with Judge Ali Khan, who's a different judge. Judge Ali is pissed off and fed up, and her hand is up to her chin with the Trump administration. She ordered them to unfreeze aid, several $billion worth of aid through an organization now shuttered called USAID, which helped people, downtrodden people in what we used to refer to as the third world, all around the world, from famine relief, AIDS, other medical conditions that require medevacs and things like that. I mean, this is just inhumane to have shut off that spigot, or as one judge referred to it, cut off the fuel supply to this, like a plane while it was flying, which is ironic given what's happening with the FAA and this Trump administration. And Judge Ali Khan said, no, I now have to do a mandatory injunction. See, another legal AF breakout. An injunction is generally prohibitive. It tells somebody to stop doing something in order to return to the status quo. But because she ordered them to stop freezing the money, they didn't thaw out the money quick enough. And now she's ordered them to pay the money. That's a mandatory aspect of an injunction. You pay the money by midnight tonight, 1 minute before midnight tonight. I mean it, or else. They didn't like that. So the Trumpers, with their acting Solicitor General, because their soon-to-be Solicitor General, as Karen, you pointed out, is in confirmation process right now. She filed a petition to take it up to the United States Supreme Court about this issue. So now we've got front and center, can Donald Trump, as the President of the United States, unilaterally cut off funding appropriated by Congress, who alone controls the purse strings, and do what's called an illegal impoundment of that money, and rather than execute on money already allocated, can he cut it off completely, regardless of its ramifications and impact around the world? Does a president, through an executive order, have the ability to cut the legs out from under a congressional spend order or allocation? That is at the basis of all of this Doge cutting, Musk cutting, and I guess they want to use this case as the test case to take it to the Supreme Court. Karen, why don't you jump in with either what Judge Ali said and why she made this mandatory injunction for midnight tonight? Well, we won't be on the air at that moment, but we will report on it quickly. And what do you think the United States Supreme Court, you know the makeup of the Supreme Court, what do you think they do with this fundamental issue about the separation of powers?
And what I don't understand is they control Congress. I don't understand. Okay, if you no longer want to fund these programs, then just go pass a law. Have Congress do it properly. I mean, there's a way to get this done. If this really is a mandate that they think they have, then just get Congress to pass a law, change their mind. Okay, we're no longer going to appropriate funds to help all the people around the world that we've been helping all this time. And then what can happen is Congress passes a law, and then programs can wind down in an orderly fashion. But unfortunately, instead, they're just trying to just stop it before it goes out, while there's food waiting in ports that is going bad and medication waiting in warehouses. I mean, there's like real life things waiting to continue on the journey of what was already allocated. It's just being done in such a haphazard, crazy way. And the judges are basically saying, look, this is arbitrary and capricious, right? Those are legal words that no lawyer on the losing side ever wants to hear, right? That you acted arbitrary and capricious. I mean, because it just means it's the opposite of being legal. It's the opposite of being deliberate. It's the opposite of being surgical, right? It's just, you're just doing it without any consideration whatsoever of the law, of the rules, etc. So look, it's clear to me that that they're going to lose all the way up to the Supreme Court. What will the Supreme Court do? Your guess is as good as mine. I think the Supreme Court will ultimately not rule in Trump's favor. I don't think they can do this. Look, I'm really glad, Popok, you reminded everyone and you explained that getting an injunction is not, it's not like handing out candy, right? It's not easy. Getting a judge to order an injunction is such a high hurdle. It's such an extraordinary thing. It is a very, very big deal and hard to get. The fact that there's already over 40 injunctions against the Trump administration really is, all these judges, all these court cases are saying, you're going to lose. You don't even have a chance of winning. And by the way, the harm you're causing is irreparable, and the damage is terrible. And so I think by the time they get to the Supreme Court, I don't think the Supreme Court is going to allow them to just violate the law and run roughshod around all of the various controls and checks and balances, et cetera, that exist. So that's what I think is going to happen. But and the district court judges are all signaling and giving the Supreme Court exactly what they need to rule that way. I mean, do you? I mean, I know you follow the Supreme Court much closer on the Legal AF channel, and you have the show with Dina Dahl. So, what are you seeing? I mean, I'd love to hear really your take on that. But I think this even is a bridge too far for the Supreme Court, even though they have the conservative majority.
I think the reason, to answer a question you asked at the start of your analysis, I think the reason that they're not going through with through Congress, is because even though they have the quote unquote majority, you can see it's a do nothing Congress. They can't get anything done. They have a very slim majority. Hakeem Jeffries is effectively the Speaker of the House on the Democratic side. And Trump knew that coming in. He knew he was going to have to rule by fiat, have to rule by executive order, and then take his chances where the chips may fall. They figured, listen, the Democrats and the moderate groups and the public interest groups, attorneys general, we're playing the portfolio method also. We're filing multiple cases on the same issue in different courts, not to get a different result, but just to make sure that we have the right judge, the right facts, the right ruling to take up on an ultimate appeal in the right appellate court to get to the United States Supreme Court ultimately, as we try to line up our best foot forward in all of these cases. Of the 60 or so executive orders that Donald Trump has issued, the top 10 that deal with issues that matter to you and me and our audience are all up and enjoined, except for I think one. I mean, I think the success rate now is over 98 or 99%. Doesn't mean the Supreme Court can't say, we don't agree with any of you. We saw that before. We know the immunity decision started out as a very good decision by Judge Chutkin, and it was a very good decision by the DC Court of Appeals, 3-0. And then when it got to the Supreme Court, they go, you guys are all wrong. That's not how you're supposed to analyze the separation of powers and the powers of the presidency when it comes to criminal conduct. They're like, it isn't. Why isn't it, based on all the case law? So they can just, it's like an Etch-a-Sketch for them. It's not supposed to be, and they're like, well, we're just going to start all over again and make our own ruling. A couple of days ago, I talked about it on Popok Live, my show on Tuesday nights. A couple of days ago was the anniversary of the passage of Marbury versus Madison, which for lawyer geeks like you and me, back in 1807, it is the case that set the Supreme Court on its path to be a co-equal branch of government. If it wasn't for John Marshall basically interpreting what the Constitution said and saying, yeah, we're Article 3. This is what we're supposed to do versus Article 2 and Article 1, President in Congress. If it wasn't for Marbury versus Madison, in which I spent 3 weeks talking about Marbury versus Madison in my law school class, there wouldn't be a Supreme Court the way that we know it. Now, a lot of people will argue, especially on the show, we don't have a Supreme Court the way it was envisioned by John Marshall, and I don't totally disagree with that. Let me segue. Oh, so Congress was there. I think the Supreme Court, I think if they had to take one case up, and there's going to be many cases up on this same point, I feel pretty good about this particular case being on U.S. aid. I think it is a violation of the separation of powers, the spending clause, the role of Congress. So even this Supreme Court doesn't like executive orders making law. And it's the weakest way for a president. It's the easiest way for a president. You know, what is it? It's a Sharpie, a blue folder, and a press conference in the Oval Office. Look what I did. Like a 2-year-old with a paint set. That's the easiest thing to do, but it's the weakest in terms of legal justification or bases. And that's why they often are found to be invalid. I think this one is going to be there too. Speaking of how I learned about Marbury versus Madison, my constitutional law teacher and scholar was the late, great Walter Dellinger, Solicitor General under Clinton, Office of White House Counsel, and he had a son. His son is named Hampton Dellinger, who I used to play pickup basketball with at Duke Law School when he used to come over. He was at UNC, but he came over and played pickup basketball with his father's class. We used to go over the little home week here. We used to go over to this place called the Bubble at Duke Law School, which was next to a parking lot. It was like in the woods, and we had one basketball court. We all played there. But Hampton Dellinger is a Boy Scout. He's devoted his life, like his father and his mother, and Dellinger was the head of government studies at University of North Carolina. He's dedicated his life to public service, being a lawyer in the furtherance of public service, and was a perfect pick by Joe Biden and any president to be the head of the Office of Special Counsel, which is not what it sounds like. The Office of Special Counsel is not Jack Smith's of the world. The Office of Special Counsel is a little bit of a misnomer. It is the office within the executive branch that is responsible, almost like an ombudsperson, to defend the interest and prosecute the interest of federal workers at places like the Merit Protection Service Board, to make sure that their rights are upheld, to make sure that their civil servants' rights and labor union rights or whatever are upheld. It's a very important position. It's usually a 5-year term so that it kind of overlaps and isn't politicized. But Donald Trump makes everything political. The only one so far he hasn't gone after that he threatened was Jay Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, only because the Wall Street people around him told him, don't F with Jay Powell, because he's the only thing that'll keep the economy spinning in the right direction, and don't F with him and the market won't like it. Short of that, he's decided to fire the FBI director on a 10-year term and Hampton Dellinger. Hampton Dellinger wasn't going to take it lying down. He was like 3 weeks in or a month into the 5-year term. So he filed his motion for temporary restraining order, and he got it granted. And the judge said, we're going to do a preliminary injunction in a few days. Maybe 8 or 9 days, but I'm going to give you a temporary restraining order right now. He is not to be fired. He is reinstated as the head of the Office of Special Counsel. He's appearing in court through his office in places like the Merit Protection Service Board and all of that. It's driving Donald Trump batty because he doesn't want Hampton Dellinger. He wants some lackey of his own choosing in that position. And so he's trying to remove him. And they filed all sorts of papers with the court to try to convince her not to put him back into that office. And they then took an appeal that we reported on last week to the United States Supreme Court for stop John Roberts. And John Roberts and even the others took a look at it and said, this is a little premature. You're on a temporary restraining order. The judge is going to hold a hearing on the preliminary injunction in about 5 days. I don't know what your rush is. We're going to not deal with this. We're going to let the judge do her job, the trial court judge. We'll see you all back here in about 8 days. Well, the 8 days went by. The judge held a hearing today, and she's not ready. She said, I need 3 more days. It's just 3 more days. Or she needs till Monday, March 1st. It's a short month to finish the briefing, finish the reading, finish the writing, doing a 30, 40, 50-page preliminary injunction order. She's not ready. So she extended the temporary restraining order, and it drove Donald Trump batty. He wrote a letter through his acting solicitor general to the clerk of the United States Supreme Court, asking the letter to be circulated to all the rest of the justices, saying, see, we got to wait 3 more days. And now he's appearing at hearings and he's asking for extensions on probationary workers being fired. And so he's a fired special counsel that's exercising executive power. Oh my God. I really, what did you make of the letter and the whining? And what do you think the Supreme Court's going to do when they get that letter? She's only asking, so you think they're going to intervene before March 1st?
No. Okay. No way. Right. No, not without a doubt. I mean, I don't know that Hampton Dellinger is going to win, but I'm really happy that he's pushing this. And of course, they're going to let him have 3 more days. I mean, that's just an absurd thing. But you know what offends me is all the taxpayer dollars that are going to have to, that he's using all of the Solicitor General and all of the people, those are people all going to be paid by taxpayer dollars who have to go and defend Donald Trump's illegal actions in court. It's just such a waste there. That's where the fraud and waste is. Why does he keep doing all these things and firing people illegally? And then utilizing government employees who are paid by tax dollars. I'm going to say that over and over again, because it's just, that is what the absolute waste is here, not the money that's going to others. And one more thing I just want to say about this, which is, the irony that as I listen to you say this, Popok, and as I listen to you talk about this, all I could think about is how much money does Elon Musk get from the government as a subsidy, right? Or as contracts, or as whatever you want to call it. How much taxpayer dollars does Elon Musk continue to get and has gotten since Donald Trump has taken office? Where's the cutting there? Why is he only taking money from poor people? That's exactly what he's doing. He's taking money from the hardworking men and women around this country who are the civil servants and the people who are working hard, middle-class Americans, and people who need it, people who are either down on their luck or for whatever reason aren't making ends meet. The people who really need the money are the ones who are getting cut, not him, who is the biggest, he's probably one of the biggest government subsidized people in this country.
Yeah, he is. He's made billions and billions of dollars every year. I think he's got contracts totaling over $4 billion before he even took office. That's why he could stroke a check to Donald Trump for $10 million to pay off because X deplatformed Donald Trump. Taxpayer dollars is a very good point, Karen, because we're watching a president use our taxpayer dollars to prosecute his private lawsuits. The CBS lawsuit that we opened the podcast with, the ABC lawsuit that he brought against George Stephanopoulos, the case against Ann Selzer, the Iowa pollster. Those are all private. Donald Trump as private individual. I don't really get why the Supreme Court thought it was okay to let him off the hook of criminal prosecution, but think it's okay for a sitting president to prosecute private matters in a courtroom. If he's not tied up and distracted by these lawsuits and collecting all the money, which they're only paying him because he happens to be the president of the United States, that's how he's lining his pocket. And he's using, as you said, the Department of Justice, and he's using taxpayer dollars for all these crazy lawyers that are going to have to go in crazy lawsuits that he has to try to defend, which is, he was the first one to say, oh, Jack Smith spent $15 million of American taxpayer hard-earned dollars on a trumped up whatever. Like it's going to be $100 million of Department of Justice money that he's going to waste. I just saw, I don't know if you caught this, when he went to Miami, talk about wasting taxpayer dollars. When he went to Miami to address an economic summit last week, he took Air Force One from West Palm Beach to Miami. It's 63 miles. And he flew Air Force One at whatever it cost per hour of taxpayer dollars to go there instead of taking driving a car for an hour.
How much did it cost for Trump to go to the Super Bowl?
Oh, or any of them.
No, seriously. For Trump to go to the Super Bowl.
Right.
With all the Secret Service agents, right?
Millions.
every one of them has to be put up in a hotel. Every one of them has to be paid. It's like the amount of money it cost for Donald Trump to attend the Super Bowl. You're millions of dollars.
Yeah, million.
Probably
10 million.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
And that is all taxpayer dollars. That is, and when he settles the CBS case, where's that money going to go?
Him.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
It's the biggest scam of waste, fraud, and abuse there is. And we are sitting back watching it happen.
Yeah. Well, we're watching it happen, but we're actively doing our own version of resistance. Sure, yeah. Right. And I'm glad you're all here. We're many ways to support us. I'm watching the chat. I always love with the chat. Like if I go long-winded on an issue or you go long-winded on an issue and like somebody watches at that moment, they're like, where's the other person? Like, what happened to Karen? Where's Michael? Like when I'm on with Ben and Ben goes on a rant and I go out and get a sandwich sometimes. Well, where's Popok? Free Popok. But Salty's like, blame me. I'm the producer. I'm the one that's supposed to keep this on schedule. Speaking of on schedule, many ways to support us. What we do here, we're a little giddy. Hit the subscribe button to Midas Touch. Come over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel, Legal AF MTN. Hit the subscribe button there. Help us turn our odometer over to 500,000. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/legalaf for some original content as well. I don't know about Karen. I got a Substack. It's a Michael Popok Substack, and we're putting a lot of new content on there and building that audience as well. And then we've got our advertisers, our sponsors, really, really important to everything that we do. Frankly, to be frank, if we did not have our sponsors, we would not have a show. I mean, I don't know, and they're the perfect support system, the perfect jet fuel for our network because they don't tell us what to say. And they don't require us to do anything other than tell the truth in our best analysis. And that's all we can ever ask for. Jordy's helped us curate these sponsors. We've tried all the products. We're not telling you to, if you don't have the money, but if you have the money and it's something that you find interesting or could be useful in your life, we think it would be something that'd be worthwhile. So here's another break and our word from our sponsors. Have you or someone you know been a victim of identity theft, harassed, stalked, doxed? As people who follow our show know, I and the other hosts on this channel have been harassed and stalked, especially following the election. And that made me want to take control to protect myself and my loved ones. And that led me to our sponsor, Delete Me. Ever wonder how much of your personal data is out there on the internet for anyone to see? More than you think. Your name, contact info, social security number, and home address, even information about your family members, all being compiled by data brokers and sold online. Data brokers make a profit off of your data. Your data is just a commodity to them. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, harassment, and unwanted spam calls. But now you can protect your privacy with Delete Me. As a person who exists publicly, especially as someone who shares my strong opinions, analysis, and commentary in online media, I'm hyper aware of safety and security, and it's easier than ever to find personal information about people online. All this data hanging out on the internet can have actual consequences in the real world. That's why I use Delete Me. Delete Me is a subscription service that removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. Sign up and provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted, and their experts take it from there. Delete Me sends you regular, personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, and what they removed. Delete Me isn't just a one-time service. Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. To put it simply, Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping your and your family's personal information from data broker websites. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/legalaf and use promo code legalaf at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/legalaf and enter code legalaf at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/legalaf, code LegalAF.
This episode is sponsored by Laundry Sauce, which is an incredible new product that I am obsessed with. In fact, I gave it to everyone I know for the holidays, and I know people who are now ordering it and subscribing. It's really fantastic because everybody hates doing laundry. Let's be real. I don't like doing laundry, but doing laundry is something everybody has to do. But laundry detergent hasn't changed over the years. It's been the same options, the same smells. Everything that you have had since you were a child is what laundry detergent is. But Laundry Sauce has created a new product, and it smells amazing and it washes great. It's just a great replacement that I am now using for all of my laundry. I will say it is the world's best smelling laundry pod, so that your clothes don't have to smell like your grandmother's perfume anymore. Imagine stepping into a room and smelling like Australian sandalwood. This rugged, warm, earthy scent is guaranteed to get you compliments with every hug. Warning, Laundry Sauce will cause you to be known as the woman who always smells amazing, or guy. I hope that's okay with you. Don't stress about remembering to put on your perfume or your cologne, because everything you run through the wash will now have this incredible scent. Each Laundry Sauce pod is highly concentrated with 4 times more cleaning power than the traditional liquid laundry detergents, and it's enriched with bioenzymes. They don't just smell incredible, they tackle the toughest stains while also reviving fabrics. So for a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off your entire order when you use code LegalAF20 at laundrysauce.com. That's 20% off your order at laundrysauce.com with promo code LegalAF20. It's time to get saucy, but it's really great. Just please go to laundrysauce.com and enter code LegalAF20. You're not going to regret it. It's really a great new product. I don't know why someone didn't think of this sooner.
And we're back.
I do love Laundry Sauce, by the way. It's
I love all my sponsors.
No, but Laundry Sauce, it's one of those things.
My wife does.
But you're like, why didn't someone else think of this sooner? You take for granted that all laundry detergents basically smells the same, is the same. It was so nice. I gave it to everyone for Christmas. It comes in this beautiful box. It's like, it's incredible.
We were packing to move, and my wife was in the laundry room, and I turned around one day. She had like 5 of these boxes that you're talking about of Laundry Sauce, and she looked at me and says, "Can we take all these?" I'm like,
yes,
"Yeah, babe,
it's true. It's like this thing. You're like, because you don't think about laundry. You're just like, oh, let me grab the detergent, whatever.
Throw the pot in.
And it's all the same, whatever. But anyway, Laundry Sauce is like this really incredible, and it makes me look around and be like, what other things do we take for granted that we should like make it incredible? So,
well, you know who's not using Laundry Sauce or doing really apparently any laundry is Elon Musk, because every time I see him, including in cabinet meetings, he's just dressed head to toe like some sort of perverse Johnny Cash or Grim Reaper, just the man in black, wearing black on black t-shirt, black on black pants, a ill-fitting jacket, and a baseball cap, while he's addressing what appears to be, I know this looks like the island of misfit toys, but this is the cabinet for Donald Trump. This is what they look like when they're all together. Pete Hegseth from Fox and Friends, Marco Rubio, the no-show job senator, Burgum, RFK Jr. How the heck did he get in that room? Linda McMahon from World Wrestling Federation. And Elon, do we have the video with Elon Musk in the room? Because we're going to talk about Elon Musk next. So Elon Musk gets brought into the cabinet meeting where Donald Trump, then now it looks like a hostage video, because now at one point, Donald Trump, to try to prove that he's in charge, turns to the cabinet and says, well, he's doing a great job, right? Is anybody here dissatisfied with Elon Musk? We already know a rebellion has broken out among the MAGA cabinet. All of them have said, ignore Elon Musk, while at the same time, they're doing nothing about Elon Musk undermining their constitutional authority. I just did a hot take about Marco Rubio ordering that certain funding related to USAID that we talked about earlier go to things like AIDS prevention in Africa and some other aspects of it. And 2 tech bros, Doge bros that work for Elon Musk got their hands inside the server and inside the payment portal and countermanded and vetoed Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State's direction. What did he do about it? There's only 2 things he could have done about it if he had any gravitas. That was my nice way of putting it. 1, he would threatened to quit unless it was reversed, right? Or two, he quits. He's not doing any of those things. And that is the problem. And then you've got the split screen of the Department of Justice under Donald Trump looking federal judges in the eye and saying, I'm sorry, ma'am. Elon who? Elon Musk. He's just a special advisor. He's like Anita Dunn that used to work for Joe Biden. He doesn't have any outsized powers. He doesn't even run Doge. He's not even in Doge. Really? Well, all I would do is, if I'm the lawyer for any of these groups, is bring back to Judge Chutkin, Judge Amy Berman Jackson, Judge Ali Khan, and the rest that are handling these matters, and show them the video of Elon Musk lording over the cabinet and the stories that are already out there that are all true about Elon Musk's team turning off the funding pipeline despite congressional appropriations of it to show the true power that he has. I mean, there's a reason. Karen, did you catch the toe-sucking AI deepfake?
Yeah, that was really disgusting, actually.
But it's a great sign of resistance from within of government workers who have that running on a screen. This gets obscene and disgusting, but it was funny to see Donald Trump sucking the toes of Elon Musk with "Long live the real king" over it as HUD workers return to work on a loop. Because this, as I said at the top, resistance takes many formats. What do you make of many forms? What do you make of the Elon Musk true role within the government, and how it's being portrayed to federal judges in these hearings?
Yeah, it's just, look, the president gets to nominate his cabinet and his people who are at high level positions, and the Senate has a role that is provided for in the Constitution that says, yes, the president can nominate someone, and they can appoint someone, but with the advice and consent of the Senate. There's a real role there where the Senate plays a role in picking the executive branch. And that's really important for people who have big jobs, important jobs, high-level officers. And that's what these hearings are for. What they're trying to do is they're trying to be too cute by half by making essentially Elon Musk the single most powerful person in government, but saying, oh, he's nothing. He's nothing to see here. Doesn't have any position. He doesn't have any power. He doesn't have any real authority. And they're doing it to try to get around this pesky little requirement in the United States Constitution that does require people to have to answer to the American people and disclose things like conflicts of interest and actually be qualified for the jobs that they hold. That's what the Constitution provides for. Well, like I said, they're trying to get around it. And I'm trying to think about how to explain it to people so they really understand the gravity of how serious this is. We joke about the first buddy, and he brings his kid around and wears a t-shirt as if he's not really in an official position. But let's analogize to flying an airplane, a commercial airplane. And the reason I'm picking this analogy is because what is up with all of the either airplane crashes or near misses that are happening ever since Donald Trump and Doge has basically essentially done away with a lot of positions at the FAA. I mean, it's just shocking to me what's happening. So let's talk about planes, right? So pilots have all sorts of training that they have to go through. They have a rigorous process that they have to go through to become a pilot, right? Not anyone, thankfully, no one's going to let me just go sit down and fly an airplane. Well, the pilot will get paid for their job. Obviously, they'll have rules that govern everything that they're supposed to do and regulations. They sit down, they do all kinds of checks right before they take off on their airplane. They do all sorts of their own checks of the airplane to make sure that it's safe to take off. They talk to the control tower. There's lots that happen to go and fly this airplane. Well, what they're doing is they don't want Elon Musk to have to go through all of the things that have to be done to keep us safe, the rules to fly the airplane. So what they're doing is they're just letting him sit in the cockpit, and the pilot will get up and let him fly every once in a while and maybe fly the whole time. Who cares? But when push comes to shove, the pilot will be like, no, but I'm the actual pilot. Right? That's my job. I'm the one wearing the uniform. I'm the pilot. But it doesn't matter. Elon Musk is flying the plane. And that's what's happening here with the federal government. And courts are starting to see through it. They are seeing through it perfectly. And they're basically saying bullshit. They're calling bullshit. And they're seeing that this is more than just an advisory role, and they're not going to let him get away with it. I think there's going to be some consequences to this, and I think the courts are going to start to rein it in. And like you said, this cabinet meeting is exhibit A of, you know, of really who he is and what he is. He's, why is he the one who's speaking to the cabinet? Why is he the one holding press conferences and answering questions in the Oval Office while Trump sits there at the Resolute desk, basically babysitting Elon Musk's kid? I mean, he's really the one in charge. And I don't know where JD Vance is, other than off flying around the world, supporting extreme, we're talking about right-wing governments, et cetera. But it's just crazy to me, that what's going to happen. And I really think that the judges are going to call out the government for frankly lying and trying to pull a wool over the court's eyes, because Elon Musk is definitely more than just hanging out.
Yeah. I think isn't it Elon Musk's kid that wiped something on the Resolute desk, and now the Resolute desk is out for repair? Did you hear that?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, the kid put yes, thank you, Adam. Salty. The kid put a booger on the Resolute desk. I think it was Musk's kid, and they sent it out for cleaning.
Because Trump's a germaphobe.
You're right. He's also disgusting too.
And so by the way, though, how much is that going to cost the taxpayer dollars to have it officially cleaned? No, but all these things add up.
$10,000. Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
Of course.
That's where the waste is.
Right. Yeah, of course. Ridiculous. I mean, this using we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but using the Alien Sedition Act, we'll touch on it here, from 1789 to have a phony war declared in order to take out, drug lords from America. The 1798 Alien Enemies Act, Alien Sedition Act, which was passed in advance of, we were about to go to war with France, and we were worried about French sympathizers within the government and outside the government. And it's been used just 3 times. It's only when there's a declaration of war, although the president can do some things in advance of the declaration of war. If there's a surge across the border or within the country, or an invasion that has to be repelled instantly, that's what we have, the slow walking undocumenteds that have been here for years. That's the invasion. And it has to be an enemy country or combatant is against us on one side and has sent their agents into the country that need to be expelled. We don't have that. Mexico is not at war with us. Venezuela is not at war with us. Sure, I don't know where exactly some of these drug gangs come from, but it's not because the state of they're not state-controlled terrorism. But Donald Trump's going to try to use it. We've used it in the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II. We put Hungarians, Germans, and Japanese in internment camps. These are all Americans, including the Japanese Americans, because under it, all turned out to be a violation, even during wartime, let alone peacetime, of our Constitution and the constitutional rights of people. And so Donald Trump apparently is going to do what he threatened to do, and what Project 2025 said it was going to do, is to use it to turbocharge his deportation policies. And that's going to end up right on the doorstep of the United States Supreme Court. Look, this is the Pandora's box, as you said at the top of the show, that John Roberts opened by leading and writing the immunity decision, because this is the lesson that Donald Trump learned. I'm unstoppable. I'm unbreakable. I'm unstoppable. And this is going to be my legacy over the next 4 years, which is completely destroying the relationship between the U.S., the United States, and the U.S. economy, the relationship between the U.S. government and the U.S. people. That's his mission. Now that he's in office, and it's going to take an act of, a brave act of a federal judge, maybe like Chutkan, to bar and ban Elon Musk from government. And that's where this is heading, is to determine whether a special advisor can wield the powers that Donald Trump has delegated unconstitutionally to Elon Musk. Yes or no? It's a question for federal courts and ultimately for the United States Supreme Court. What did you make of, just to round off our topic, what did you make of the oral argument on the white straight woman who was suing for a discrimination violation because she didn't get the job and a gay guy got it, and how the Supreme Court oral argument, that they even took that case. Anytime they start lifting under the hood and start tinkering in areas like this, gets me very nervous. And then I didn't feel any better after listening to the reports on the oral argument. Webb, how about you?
I mean, look, the question here isn't whether she was discriminated against, because this is a woman who, I think she's in Ohio, and she is heterosexual and a white woman, and she got very good reviews, performance reviews, and at her job, and she was up for a promotion, and she interviewed the person who was interviewing her is gay and chose someone gay, and she said she was discriminated against. And the lower courts, essentially what they're arguing about is what's the standard she has to show in order to win. Is it the same standard? Is it different because she's in the majority versus if she were in the minority group? Or is it the same standard, or is it a different standard? And I think that the court is going to say, no, Title VII of the Employment Act doesn't allow you to have different standards, that it's the same standard. So they're not going to rule on whether or not she was discriminated against, but they're going to rule on what was the standard. And I think that it seemed like everyone agreed that that's the case. And I think that the Supreme Court's going to rule in her favor. That's what I took from it. Is that what you took from it?
I agree with you, including the Democratic wing of the Supreme Court, even Kagan, who is I think Kagan's openly gay, right?
I'm not sure.
Did I just out her? I doubt it. I doubt it. I think she's openly gay. If I'm wrong, I will correct myself on a
I don't know. I don't think about the sex lives of the Supreme Court.
No, I don't either. But I'm just saying.
I just don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she is. But yeah. So I think this is not gonna. We're not gonna like the precedent that's being set here. I don't think ultimately about it. It just it may not be exactly another attack on the LGBTQ plus community, but it sort of is. In its own way, it's in its own shape. We got other reporting that we won't have time to cover tonight that came out. Pam Bondi has announced that there's more Jeffrey Epstein files that are coming out and being released. I guess these are the ones that don't have Donald Trump's name on them, flight logs and all sorts of things. I mean, I hate to say so, but at this point in time, with the lawsuits that are working on the compensation to the victims of Jeffrey Epstein having hanged himself in jail. I mean, the fact that that we are still talking about his files, and the Pam Bondi, again, back to your thematic, Karen, wasting taxpayer dollars, having somebody review the files and release them because it's important to Donald Trump. Because why? Because Bill Clinton's name's on it. Because people went to the island. There's a lot of people that went to that island, I'm sure. That didn't all participate in sex crimes on it. Salted just said he's on it. Who's the he?
Trump. Trump's on it. Trump. I've been.
Is he on the flight logs that were just released by Donald Trump's own Department of Justice? Yes.
Let's see what Salty says. I don't know if they were in this.
Yeah, not the current. Right in the past.
Yes.
Right. We got copies of things. And I'm talking about the BS that Pam Bondi is putting out as a smokescreen is not going to have Donald Trump's name on it. He's going to say, see, Bill Clinton's name was on it, or whoever's name was on it. My name wasn't on it, because he's trying to, again, using our taxpayer dollars, wasting our time with his retribution campaign. I don't know if you caught this, Karen. He took special delight. I mean, I love the fact this is what animates him every day. He gets up in the morning and brushes his teeth about how I can abuse or embarrass lawyers and Jack Smith. He took away Covington, this major law firm in Washington's security clearance, so they can't represent people who have like whistleblowers who have security issues, because to get them back for helping Jack Smith in his personal matters. He actually said, I'm lingering on this one. The signing of this executive order.
By the way, that was so performative. Okay. If you want to like the fact that he signs an executive order that says we're going to take away the security clearance of this law firm. That's not an executive order. That's ridiculous. It's so performative to do that.
Yeah.
And then he says, I'm going to give the pen to Jack Smith. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a ridiculous, vindictive, petty. I feel like I'm
Demented.
talking to a 7-year-old.
I know. Although I was just arguing with somebody that was off camera. Next time I argue with my producer, Salty's got to come on. It was like I was arguing with the chat, but on camera. Well, we've reached the end. Popok's gassed. I've reached the end of another midweek with one of my favorite people in the world.
We gotta get Salty on here. Salty is this like mystery, man
People
behind.
Think we make him up that he doesn't exist.
I know.
There's a guy.
Exactly.
Salty just wrote. I'm not making this up. He just wrote in the chat, AI. I'm AI. He's like Hal from 2001: Space Odyssey. I'm turning off the oxygen now, Popok. All right. Well, I'm giddy. So let's.
We're like punchy.
We are a little punchy, but you are one of my favorite people on planet Earth. So I'm really glad that we get together every week here on the midweek edition of Legal AF. You know all the ways to help us. Somebody wrote in the chat, you don't really need some sponsors. I'm sorry, I don't understand that business model. I don't get it. But in any event, we do. We support you. They support us. It's a great ecosystem here. Hitting the subscribe button, which is free, is really helpful. Going over to Legal AF, helping us continue to grow that pro-democracy channel is really, really helpful. We still got t-shirts, I think, on the store. There it is. Store.minustouch, whatever it is, .com. There it is. All those t-shirts that Karen did. We got Legal AF, the YouTube channel. There it is. Look at that. That looks great. All my different haircuts over time. all memorialized on that ad.
I love watching the ad, and I'm like, oh, I needed to do my roots. Notice all
right.
It's like you see all the little like things. You're like, ah.
Right. I was showing my hairstylist. I got my haircut today. I was showing the guy that cuts my hair. I was like, hey, look, see this one from 3 days ago? I really like that one. Let's see if we can get back there. But any event, all kidding aside, we really do appreciate everybody. I think we hit Midas Touch hit 4.2 million subs tonight. Odometer turned during Legal AF, as always. As always. 2 million was hit during our show. Exactly. And I forget about 3 million, 4 million. And we're about to hit 500,000. My goal is 1 million for Legal AF before our 1-year anniversary. I think we can get there at the rate that we're going, but only because of our tremendous audience. So until our next Saturday edition of Legal AF with Ben Mysalis and me, all the hot takes that we do over here on the Midas Touch Network and over on Legal AF. Shout out to the Midas Mighty and the Legal AFers.